everyone, my name is Fred, and for today's video I'll be doing my January wrap-up. Now, January was an insane reading month for me. I honestly don't know how I managed to get through so many books. I read a grand total of 11 novels and 1 comic book compilation. And so without further ado, let's get into which books I read over the month of January. The first book that I picked up was Shopaholic to the Stars by Sophie Kinsella. Now, this is the 7th book in the Confessions of a Shopaholic series and follows Becky Bloomwood as she moves to LA and attempts to become a personal stylist to the hottest stars. And so, like the other books of the series, Becky continues to have a slight obsession with shopping and gets wrapped up in all these interesting situations and fabricated stories. For what it is, Shopaholic to the Stars was a nice, quick, and light read. If you're a fan of the series and a fan of Becky, then you will probably enjoy this book. I will say, however, that I felt like this novel was more of a setup for what will happen in the next book. And so I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It was an enjoyable read, but there was a little bit too much miscommunication between characters, and like I said, it kind of felt like more of a filler novel. Next, I picked up The Mistletoe Promise by Richard Paul Evans. Now, I know this is considered a Christmas book. I read it after Christmas, that's just how I roll. And so, this story follows our main character, Elise, who, while having lunch in the food court of her office building, this man that she has seen around her office building approaches her and asks her whether she would like to become his girlfriend of sorts for the holiday season. And so this man, Nicholas, and Elise write up this contract saying that they will attend each other's holiday parties and functions while pretending to be a couple, and the contract ends on Christmas Eve. And so, as you can imagine, there's a relationship that develops between Nicholas and Elise, and I just have to say that Nicholas is probably one of the sweetest guys out there. But there is a catch. Both Nicholas and Elise carry around ghosts of their past. They've both experienced some pretty tragic events, and so this isn't just your typical light, fluffy holiday read. There is some more substance to it. It does have a good ending, however, so no worries there. And yeah, the tough parts really do pull at you. It's about learning to forgive oneself, and so I gave The Mistletoe Promise a 4 out of 5 stars. It was very enjoyable, it made me smile, it made me laugh, and it did get to me, it did affect me. And so I do recommend this as a nice holiday read, or for any time during the year if you're like me and like to read Christmas books after Christmas. Then I picked up Dragonfly and Amber by Gabaldon. Now, this is the 2nd book in the Outlander series, and so I won't say too much about it, seeing as it is a sequel. But we do get to meet some new and interesting characters while also reconnecting with some people we met in the first book. And this book also does kind of play with your emotions. So if you have read Dragonfly and Amber, there's just this one line that Jamie says that really stuck with me for some reason, and no worries if you haven't read it, it won't spoil anything. But it's when Jamie says to Claire, and forgive any Gaelic mispronunciations, he says, "I'm O'Doin, but you're my Sassenach." I don't know why, but that line just really stuck with me and I really liked it. And so I gave Dragonfly and Amber 4 out of 5 stars, really adored it, and it's definitely worth continuing the series if you have read Outlander. Then I have the 4th volume in the comic series Saga, written by Brian K. Vaughan and artwork by Fiona Staples. And so this latest installment, follows our 2 lovers from opposite sides of a galactic war who fall in love, have a child together, and now it seems the whole universe are out to get them because they represent that peace is possible between their 2 kinds. And so it was really nice to dive back into this fascinating world, and the story just continually catches me off guard and takes these different directions that I never would have expected. And as usual, the big bonus, the artwork is absolutely stunning. And so I gave this volume a 5 out of 5 stars, and now the long wait for volume 5 begins, unfortunately. Next, I picked up All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. And so this story follows 2 teenagers, Finch and Violet, who meet at the top ledge on their school's roof. And so Finch convinces Violet to step back, and throughout the story he shows her all of the good in the world, what's worth living for, while he himself gets pulled deeper into his thoughts and into issues that he's dealing with. I won't say too much because I do plan on doing a full video review, but I will say that I absolutely adored this book. I liked the characters, I liked the writing, and this book really does play with your emotions as well. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Once I started reading, I was completely absorbed into it and couldn't put it down. I will mention though that this book does deal with some pretty heavy subjects such as suicide, mental illness, bullying, and abuse. And so if those are topics that you're not comfortable reading about, then this book may not be the one for you. Now these next books I picked up out of sheer curiosity. I used to see them everywhere in bookstores, plus with the movie coming out, I just wanted to see what all the buzz was about and wanted to make my own opinion. And so these would be the 50 Shades trilogy by E.L. James. We have 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, and 50 Shades Freed. Now, I will say the writing was not the best. I found there to be quite a lot of repetition and there were a little too many sex scenes for my personal liking. But once again, I knew what I was getting into when I picked these up and I just took them for what they were. I didn't really have any expectations. There were, however, some parts of the storyline that I did really find interesting. For example, I like to learn more about Christian Grey's past, how he became who he is, and how he came to do the things that he does. I will also say that the story gets better plot-wise as you progress through the books, and the sex scenes are a little less frequent. And so these little aspects are what kept me reading the trilogy, that and the fact that I'm just plain stubborn and like to see things through. And so I gave each of these books a 2 out of 5 star rating. Like I said, the writing isn't the best. These aren't the best books I've read, nor the types of books that I usually find myself gravitating towards. But there were parts of the plot that I really did enjoy. I thought these books had a lot of potential. I just wish that there was less of an emphasis on those explicit scenes. And oh yeah, these books are definitely for mature readers only, alright? And lastly, I promise I'm almost done. I read the first 4 books in the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Now, I had never read any of the Harry Potter books before. I did try when I was younger, but I guess I was just too tired or not in the right frame of mind because I was never able to get into the story. But while rewatching the films with my friends, I was inspired to finally read the story. And boy, am I glad that I did. It has not disappointed so far. And so I read the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and you have Dobby here on the back, so adorable. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I believe this one is my favorite cover. I just think the protagonist is stunning. And lastly, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And there's one moment that I'd like to highlight in this book. It's when Dobby, once again, is talking to Harry right before the second task, and he says that Harry has to find his Wheezy. I just thought it was really adorable. And so it should come as no surprise, I gave these first 4 books 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm currently reading the 5th book at the moment. And for those of you who are still with me and still watching, that's it for my January wrap-up. Let me know in the comments below what was your favorite book you read over the month of January, or if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, do let me know your thoughts. And so, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Goodbye!